We mentioned the Packers. Obviously, the Packers should have lost last week to this team, but instead, Baker Mayfield was doing Baker Mayfield things. The Browns lose, but now they find themselves on Monday night, primetime Baker, 3.5-point road favorites against the Steelers. And, you know, I just can't with the Steelers. I've been saying this all season long. I just can't do it. But I mean, they're going against my guy Baker, which we know my relationship with Baker Mayfield this season, which I also can't do.
Right.
So this one's a tough one. And fundamentally, it's just the Steelers. Is this Big Ben's last hurrah?
It's super narrative-y.
Right?
It's super narrative-y,
right?
But I kind of think it is, man. I kind of think
3.5 points.
How are the Steelers getting 3.5 points here? Now, again, premise and the sort of concept, hey, everybody can win, everybody can cover, anybody could win by 7, 10 points, et cetera here. But like of the quote unquote big name quarterbacks, right? Like we're not talking about the Jake Fromms of the world or the rookies or whatever. Like Ben Roethlisberger, we don't trust, but Baker Mayfield, we also do not trust, right? Like this isn't all that complicated. Like neither of these guys, I'm not going to back either of these guys because of or these teams because of the quarterback. I'm certainly not going to back Baker Mayfield on the road, requiring him and that team to win by more than 3 points. Now it's easy to look at the Steelers, watch them get blown out last week and watch the Browns and be like, well, they're pretty competitive with the Packers, and look at the Steelers run defense, you know, getting gashed by Minnesota, getting gashed by everybody in sight, and be like, yeah, the Browns could go on the road here and win this game. But there's 3 elements here, and all of them are narrative-y. One's got at least some statistical backing behind it. And the statistical backing one is it's been 19 straight Monday Night Football home games where the Steelers have won the game outright. Like that is crazy. Like there is something to that. Now I understand, you know, this goes back to 1992 and like the Steelers have been at the very least good all of those years, but a lot of those years they were pretty much just as good as they are now, right? Which is to say, okay, like meh, right? Like we talk about them as one of these teams that might be like the pure, like most even average team in the NFL, right? The 50 out of 100 without much of a, you know, massive downswing to, you know, what's the worst they're going to play? 45. And then what's the best they're going to play? 55. Like they are of a really tight range around mediocre. And yeah, they lost to the they beat the Titans, but like they were, you know, underdogs to the Titans for that game 2 weeks ago. They end up winning that game because the Titans turned the ball over 4 times. Baker Mayfield did that last week. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility that Baker just turns the ball over 4 times as well. And so I'm going to rely on the defense here. I'm going to rely on some of just the general voodoo, if you will, of the Steelers, the Mike Tomlin home underdog. This is not just our last, you know, chance here for Ben Roethlisberger. This is our last chance to try to make the playoffs here in an all messed up AFC North. Like this is that backs against the wall thing, right? And I've heard a lot of people talk about the Browns being an interesting division bet because all they need to do is win this week and win next week and then have Cincinnati lose to Kansas City. And they're all of a sudden going to win the division at plus 550. I don't even think it gets to that point. I think they lose to the Steelers this week. This is just what the Steelers do. You really think the Steelers in Ben Roethlisberger's last home game, with the crowd being what it's going to be, is just going to like allow the Browns, a team that they have beaten up on for 25 to 30 years, they're just going to walk in there and not just win, but win by more than 3.5 points. Like I understand why the line exists because I know like what goes into these lines and the ratings and that these sportsbooks have or whatever. But that just doesn't seem right. Like this feels like one where if you're betting the Browns, you're sitting there going like, what did I do that for? Because I think the Steelers, crazily enough, like, maybe it's not that crazy, I think they play their best game of the season on Monday night.
I look forward to it. Indeed.